That is the Georgia Peach, your host with the most. Gonna get in here with a pick a card reading with Diana, Madam Butterfly. Y'all know, go over there and subscribe to my girl. All right, my loves.
Heart chakra
Okay.
healing going on. Let's see the rest of your cards.
Okay.
My name is Diane and this is Madam Butterfly Tarot, and this is a little quick pick a card for Thursday. Nope, I don't know why I said Thursday. Maybe something's going to happen on Thursday for you. Saturday the 13th of May. Maybe I was trying to say 13th. Maybe Thursday is going to be significant for you. So pile number 1 is the red jasper. Pile number 2 is the pink rhodochrosite, and pile number 3 is moonstone. So I will just give you a second to choose your pile. Okay, so I'll just move that out of the way. That's pile 3, that's pile 2, and pile number 1, the red jasper. So you guys have the Hierophant, Teach. you have the Star. Okay, let's get another couple here. You have a new star is coming, new moon. Okay, I have more cards here, but those of you that chose this pile, I feel like you might be about to start because you have here with Teach. Maybe you're about to become like a spiritual teacher, or you're about to start a spiritual business maybe as well. With the Hierophant card, be actually teaching children. But with the Star here, this can be like fame of sorts, like being in the public eye, having a lot of followers, like being the center of attention kind of thing. And you have a new start is coming here. Also, if it's about, you know, training to be some kind of teacher, the Star is about, like, you know, you may work very hard to get here, but the Star is like a dream come true. Believe in yourself at the end of a difficult situation, renewal. Okay. You have self-care. You have self-employment. Okay, I have more cards, but for some of you, this is like a spiritual business that you're going to be undertaking. For others of you, it's like teaching, you know, giving people your information. And like I said, with the Star, it might be like a public figure in some way. It may well be like own business, you know, maybe it's a YouTube channel, or you're going to start a Reiki business, or it's like an online blog or something. But with self-care and the Star, if you've been working really, really hard to get to this thing, whatever it is, because I feel like it's something you've worked hard for, you're going to have a lot more time to heal. And the next phase of your life is going to be more about self-care, like, you know, getting enough rest, like making enough time for yourself, for your mental health, like doing nice things for yourself, you know what I mean, instead of just working yourself into the ground all the time. A fly literally just flew out of the sky and landed on the table. Go away. What are you doing? Look, do you see him here? He just like fell out of the sky. So this might literally fall out of the sky for some of you, like it might come in very suddenly and you're like, oh, okay, cool. And then suddenly life is just better and you have a lot more time for yourself. Okay, you have occupation. So I feel like it's something, yeah, you have occupation and you have imprisonment and you have privileged lady. See, I feel like you've been, I don't know, it's like you've been working really, really hard at something. And you know, with the occupation here, it's like she doesn't look very happy. So it may have been like long hours that you were doing, or you had to study really hard for this. And with imprisonment, whatever you were doing before this has felt like a bit of a prison, because all you did was work, work, work. But now you have this like privileged lady, like you're gonna have a lot more free time, like a lot more time to, you know, faff about and do things for yourself. If I can get the fucking card to focus. You know, be like a lady or a man of luxury, right? Like more time to kind of do things that you want, like more time for your hobbies, more time to like exercise and, eat healthily, you know, this kind of thing. So that is your message, pile number 1. I hope you found it useful. Sorry. I hope you found it useful. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I wish you many blessings. Love and light. Take care. I've knocked the camera. Son of a bitch. There we go. Okay. So, pile number 2, you guys, were the pink rhodochrosites. You have the 3 of Swords. So this is coming out of sadness and isolation. You see how this is someone coming out of it? I like this deck. You have this the Sun, Shine. I feel like this is about heart healing. You have the 3 of Swords, which is often the card of heartbreak, and then you have the Shine card. See how it's like coming out of her heart chakra? I feel like there may be some heart chakra healing going on. Let's see the rest of your cards. You have the Devil, Decision. You have decisions again. So you have 2, you have some kind of decision to make. You have sentimental feelings. Oh, you have forgiveness. And the 3 of Swords. Okay. And you have Thief and you have Coffin. Well, let's see where this is going. There's someone, I feel like they're going to come back in. Okay, this could be anyone. This could be like an ex or someone that hurt you, like a friend, a family member. It's someone that broke your heart in some way, okay, with the 3 of Swords. I feel like they stole something from you with Thief. Like they stole something from you. So that could be money, or that could be your time, or they could have, you know, broken your heart, stolen your innocence, something like this. But it's like they took something from you. They're coming in to ask you for forgiveness for breaking your heart in some way, and you're gonna have to make a decision here about whether you want this person back in your life or not. I feel like most of you are gonna say no with the Coffin. You have sentimental feelings, so it's obviously someone that, like, you still have, you know, you still love this person, like, despite what they did. But I feel like you're gonna say no with the Coffin. You know, it's like an ending. It's like some kind of closure coming in. That's why I think with the Shine, like, see how it's coming out of her heart chakra? I feel like just the fact that this person apologized, like the fact that they took some kind of responsibility for what they did, or they're at least saying it, is like healing for you in some way, and I feel like it helps you let it go. But I still feel like even though you may have sentimental feelings for this person, you're gonna be like, no, I'm sorry, like, I forgive you, but I don't want you back in my life. But I feel like you're gonna have to make a decision about it, pile 2. But honestly, I feel like you're gonna say no. You know. So that is your message, pile 2. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I wish you many blessings, love and light. And pile number 3, you were the Moonstone. So you have the 7 of Pentacles, awaiting results, the 4 of Swords. Okay, I see where this is going. You have the end of a tough cycle approaches, full moon in Capricorn. You guys got a lot of these butterfly cards. Hold on. You have keep the faith, sobriety, religion and spirituality, healing from the past. You also have poverty, which I often take to be like the 5 of Pentacles. You've got a lot of cards. You have unexpected income, you have expectation, and you have toil and labor. Okay, pile number 3. Some kind of tough cycle is coming to an end, okay? I feel like those of you who chose this pile, you have been in your hermit phase. Okay, with the 7 of Pentacles, you've been planting seeds, you've been patiently waiting for things to take off, for things to come in. you have been very, very bored with sobriety. I feel like nothing has been happening, because that's what happens in the hermit phase. Nothing happens, okay? And I'm saying hermit phase because you have religion and spirituality. So I feel like you've been through a spiritual awakening, you've been in your hermit phase where you got no friends, you're not dating anyone, nothing ever happens, because that is the time that you're healing from the past, okay? So nothing happens. So you've just been sitting around waiting, okay? Basically. And like I said, with sobriety here, like, it's not been very fun, you've not been allowed to go out and play. The Four of Swords, you may also have been healing from a heartbreak. With the poverty card, like, someone may have broken your heart, may have left you out in the cold. You may have been attracted to pile number 2. Like, the Four of Swords it's a time of, you know, R&R, basically, after like something has ended, like you had some kind of heartbreak. It can also just be resting, and this card in particular talks about insights that come from meditation. See, the thing about a hermit phase is, like, you have to do it by yourself, because otherwise you get distracted, right? Like, if you're having fun, you're not really looking for spirit, right? Because you don't care, you don't want to. And I feel like with Keep the Faith, you haven't had any indication of good things coming towards you. It's all been about, like, you've just had to sit back, do nothing, and believe, and be out in the cold. You know, like with the poverty card, the Five of Pentacles, you might be feeling very unloved, very left out. And I also feel like you've been working really hard. So that literally may have just been your life during your hermit phase. You've been on your own, doing your shadow work, not having any friends, not going out, not having any fun, working really, really hard. There is something coming in for you now, okay? There's some kind of unexpected offer coming in for you, because I feel like you're coming to the end of your hermit phase, okay? Some of you may also, with the poverty card, you may be struggling financially, you know, and you may be in dire need of rest with the Four of Swords. Hang in there, because you're nearly there. With the unexpected income, like an offer or some unexpected money is going to come in, because I feel like you've been working really, really hard on something. You may have been attracted to pile 1. And you've just kind of had to keep the faith because you had no other choice, okay? This can also be with the unexpected income, being a bit vague about what's coming towards you. So I feel like that's what they want. They want it to be a surprise, but with the unexpected income, this can also be like love. I just feel like you have lots of unexpected.
I guess this shit don't want to damn act right. Hold on a minute, y'all. Then my phone want to read everything else.
Hey everybody, this is Maxine Taylor, Georgia's first licensed astrologer, with another edition of Astrology 101. This time we're going to be talking about two of our favorite planets, Jupiter. We'll be talking about two of our favorite planets, Jupiter and Saturn. Wherever Jupiter is in your chart is where you are blessed. Traditionally, Jupiter was considered the planet of luck. It rules generosity, optimism. It rules money. It rules all blessings, which is why it's called the Great Benefic. This is what Jupiter looks like a number 4. Jupiter in your chart expands. Whatever it touches, it brings a lot of. So let's just jump through the hoops, okay? With Jupiter in your first house, if you have Jupiter in your first house, the first house is your physical appearance, your personality, your body. Now, you might say, well, does that mean I'm going to be fat? No, it doesn't. But there's a lot of you. You're going to come first. You're going to be optimistic. I don't care what sign Jupiter is in. You're going to be outgoing, and you're going to be very happy about you. Jupiter's the planet of happiness. And so you are a happy person. The worst thing in the world for somebody who has strong Jupiter in their chart is for them to be in a situation where they're despondent or depressed or where things aren't going well. It's like this kind of a gray cloud comes over them. So Jupiter in the first house is a lot of you. You are the one that people want to invite to their parties because you are delightful. Now let's move along. Jupiter in the second house. Well, we know this deals with our money. And so this is going to bring a great deal of money. How much? I don't know. But it brings money to you. It brings abundance in the area of money, possessions, and your values. You like a lot of things. You like big things. Jupiter is big. And people are saying whenever they look at their chart, they start looking for Jupiter because they want it to be in that second house. Okay? Jupiter in the third house. Very, very interesting. Remember, it expands whatever it touches. And so with Jupiter in your third house, it expands your mind, your mouth. You're a talker. You're a thinker. You want very much to be listened to. Makes sense, doesn't it? And so here's Jupiter in your third house. You would love travel. You get bored easily. Jupiter in the third says, keep those pictures moving on the walls. Keep them rotating because I get bored easily. When you think something, you will verbalize it. I love it. Now, Jupiter in the fourth house is very interesting as well because Jupiter in the fourth expands your home and your family. The fourth house deals with the nurturing parent, and that can be either mother or father. And we've talked about this on prior shows. So we don't know who it is, but it is a very expansive parent. You need a large home. Sometimes, depending on the sign that Jupiter is in, you'll want more than one home. And so if you're going house hunting and you have a limited budget, find a place that you love where you can tear down walls, where you can give yourself more elbow room. You want more yang rather than yin in your home. Make sense to you? And you love your family. Now, there may be other mitigating planets. There may be other planets in that fourth house that offset Jupiter. For example, if you also have, let's say, Mars in that fourth house, well, your family comes first to you. You'll fight with them. You'll fight for them. And if it's next to Jupiter, there'll be a lot of that going on. But Jupiter will bring the blessings that you want. Okay. Jupiter in the fifth house, the house of fun and games. We love our Jupiter in the fifth house. You know how to have fun. In fact, if you have any planets in the fifth house, with the exception of Saturn, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute, you love to play. You probably adore children and they adore you because Jupiter in the fifth house makes you the Pied Piper. You attract fun wherever you go. Does this make you a gambler? Possibly. Does this make you a sports enthusiast? Possibly. The fifth house is ruled by Leo, and Leo is a very dramatic sign. And so you have a lot of drama, fun kind of drama in your life. Now, Jupiter in the fifth house is kids, children. Does this mean you're going to be having lots and lots of kids? No, not necessarily. But you will find that your children are very optimistic. They tend to put themselves first. They have fun, and they are a delight to be with. So if you have Jupiter in your fifth house, you've got to make sure that you have fun every day. And this means work at something that you love. And speaking of work, let's put Jupiter in the sixth house. This is the house of work, health, and service. Now, Jupiter rules our principles, the principles on which we base our life. Jupiter rules truth as well. And so your work should involve something that you believe in. It should be something that is truthful to you. I know a lot of people nowadays just want a job so that they can pay their bills. Your greatest fulfillment with Jupiter in your sixth house will be that you work at something in which you believe and which can expand. In other words, you want your job to keep expanding. By the way, Jupiter also rules large animals. And I find that people with Jupiter in the sixth house, while they may not work for a veterinarian, they may not work with animals, if they could, they would. Most importantly, once again, you have to work at something you believe in. That's how it is. Now, Jupiter in the seventh house. Okay, that's partnership. Those are your one-on-one relationships. Jupiter in the seventh deals with the public. And so you come across as very giving. You put the other person first all the time, which is great because you will attract to you people who put themselves first. It works well for all concerned. Jupiter in the seventh, you've got to be married, whether it's a legal marriage or a marriage of the mind. But the one-on-one relationship is very important to you. Now, Jupiter is abundance. So you may be asking, well, does this mean I'll be married more than once? Not necessarily. But your partner, whether it's personal or business, brings blessings to your life. Don't you wish, the rest of you, that we all had Jupiter in our seventh house? Okay, Jupiter in the eighth house. Very, very interesting. A lot of people have trouble understanding the eighth house of secrets, other people's money, and transformation. Anything in the eighth house is going to be transformed in this lifetime. And so Jupiter in the eighth says that your principles will undergo a transformation. Your belief systems will undergo a transformation. And you can help other people raise money. Cool. Jupiter in the ninth house, that is its natural placement in the zodiac. And so this is the house of principles. Jupiter rules principles, so it's a double whammy. Long distance travel, when we start traveling through space, you can see what's going to be happening. And you have a life in which you look for truth. You are a person of truth. Awesome. Jupiter in the 10th. This is a beautiful placement for somebody in front of the public, for somebody who is famous. Now, not all famous people have Jupiter in the 10th. Not all famous people have anything in their 10th house. But if you have Jupiter in the 10th, you have a large career. You are a natural leader. You love being the leader, and you must have a career in which you live your beliefs. Jupiter in the 11th. This is a beautiful placement. Jupiter in the 11th of the humanitarian says, get a lot of friends. Maybe not so much friends, but certainly acquaintances. And you've got them all over the world because Jupiter in the 11th house is humanitarian, and this includes everyone. Remember, the 11th house deals with other people's children. Who are other people's children? Everybody walking the planet. And this gives you a beautiful outlook. You know that what's best for the whole is best for the individuals. Jupiter in the 12th. This is very interesting because Just as Jupiter has its natural placement in the ninth house, it also has its natural placement in the 12th of behind the scenes activities. So this says you want lots and lots and lots of privacy. You need to be alone at least once a day. The spirit world, which is the 12th house, is your haven, and you are divinely protected with Jupiter in the 12th house. You are protected on the spirit level. This is absolutely beautiful. So that's Jupiter. Now, our next planet, very interesting. If Jupiter is God's law, Saturn, which is our next planet, is man's law. Jupiter expands, Saturn contracts. Jupiter is optimistic and generous. Saturn is restrictive and very serious and hangs on to what it's got. Jupiter says, don't worry, it's all going to work out okay. Saturn says, let me plan carefully. Jupiter will give you gifts. Saturn can squeeze money out of a dime. Jupiter says, if I want it, I'm going to buy it. Saturn says, I can get it for you wholesale. And this is the difference between them. So Saturn is very often written in astrology books as fear, restriction. It's made to be the bad guy. So let's not do that. Let's look at the bigger picture. Saturn is reality. It's responsibility. I don't mean burden. That's the negative interpretation. Responsibility means respond to your ability. So wherever Saturn is in your chart is where you want to respond to your ability. And I'm going to leave Jupiter up here and put Saturn, Neptune to remind you of the contrast, okay? Because a lot of people have Jupiter next to or conjunct Saturn in their birth chart. And so they're pulled between God's law and man's law, between giving and hanging on. See the difference? So let's just talk about Saturn along with Jupiter as the comparison. Saturn is reality. If it's in your first house, Saturn rules the older people in your life, like your grandparents. These are the people who tell you you should do this, you ought to do this. Well, with Saturn in the first house, you have an old head on young shoulders. You are the one who, even if you're the youngest child, and I know that the sibling pecking order is very important, but in this case, it doesn't matter. You're going to be the adult. You were born mature. You were born wise, and you were born taking responsibility for yourself. The problem can be with Saturn that you take other people's responsibility. Remember, the definition of Saturn is respond to your ability. So with Saturn in the first, you're a very serious person. You're a grown-up. With Jupiter in the first, you're happy-go-lucky and you're a kid. With both, you can hit the brake and the accelerator at the same time. Interesting contrast, don't you think? And you can't be happy unless you are responding to your ability. Again, it's not burdensome. We're not talking about, oh, I've got to pay the bills. No, it's respond to your talents and your abilities. So let's move Saturn, speaking of bills, into the second house, and let's have it join Jupiter. Back, we'll have it embrace Jupiter. Saturn is the planet of fear. It doesn't have to be, but I have found that people with Saturn in the second house are afraid of not having enough money. So what do? They work real hard, and they create or make real, Saturn makes real money. Now, Saturn rules the earth, the world. It rules real estate. And a lot of people with Saturn in the second house are great at buying and selling homes. Saturn rules the government. And so there is a structure that you like in your financial system with Saturn in the second house. Saturn is tradition. So there's a traditional way of earning your money. Now, I'm talking about tradition here because we're getting ready in our next segment to talk about Uranus.
See, Saturn is the natural ruler of my sign, Capricorn. And Saturn also is the planet of karma.
And Uranus breaks tradition. So Saturn says, I like having the security of knowing that I'm getting a certain paycheck every single week or every 2 weeks. And you can see Jupiter says, listen, the minute I get my money, I'm happy. I can spend it. With both of them in your second house, for example, you have to earn your money at something you believe in. And you have to make a lot of money, which you'll do naturally. But Saturn says, don't spend it all, invest it, use it wisely. Saturn in the third house. Now, this is a very interesting placement because this is our mind. It's also our siblings. And so your siblings are a combination of traditional and non-traditional, of expansive and generous and very serious and want to be respected. You think seriously with Saturn in your third house, and your responsibility, respond to your ability, is to express your ideas practically and logically. Now, with Jupiter in the third house, you're going to be talking. You've got great ideas. You look at life optimistically. Saturn turns to Jupiter and says, you're not looking at things realistically. You have to see the world as it is. And so with both of them in your third house, if that's the case, you see both sides of every picture. Isn't this making sense? Okay, and I hope that you have gotten a copy of your own chart and you're holding it right in front of you, okay? Let's go to the fourth house. This is home and family and real estate, and Saturn, being the traditional planet, says you have to have a home base of your own. You probably do very well with real estate. The fourth house parent may be strict, may be very serious, because that's what Saturn brings. And you take your family very seriously, particularly the nurturing parent. So you've got Jupiter. If you have Jupiter in the fourth, you want a big house. With Saturn in the fourth house, you take your responsibility very seriously, and you want a traditional home and family situation. Even if your lifestyle is not traditional, you'll be looking for the traditional. All right, let's put Saturn here in the fifth house. Now, the fifth house is fun and games. It wants to kick up its heels. It wants to gamble. It wants to have fun. It wants to party. It wants to go to sports. It loves to go to the movies. And Saturn deals with children in the fifth house, as well as all of those amusements. So Saturn there says, I take my children very seriously, and I take my responsibility with my children very seriously. Saturn is a serious planet, and so it can be very difficult to kick up your heels when you have Saturn in your fifth house. You take your fun seriously. Now, you might say, that doesn't make sense to me. Trust me, the person with Saturn in their fifth house understood exactly what I meant when I said that. You take your fun seriously. You take your responsibility to your children seriously, and your children take themselves seriously. So if you have both Jupiter and Saturn, you can see they're going to flip between the two, and so are you. There are times you're going to be able to party with the best of them, and times when you're going to say, no, that's just too frivolous for me. Hi, everybody. This is Maxine Taylor, Georgia's first licensed astrologer, and I thought you might be interested in finding out what astrology can do with the best of them, and times when you're going to say, no, that's just too frivolous for me. Okay? Saturn in the sixth house. This is a lovely placement, I think, for Saturn, because this is the area of work, and Saturn is a hard worker. And with Saturn, the authority figure, in your 6th house, you want very much to be in command on the job. And I think I'll add Saturn here as well. Saturn in the 6th house says you take your work very seriously. You respond to your ability as a leader at work. And if you own a company and you have employees, believe it or not, this is the 6th house of employees. And so you are going to have employees who take their job seriously. And as the owner of a business, you want that. With Saturn in your 6th house, you can deal in real estate, you can deal with government, but you want a structure that you adhere to. And you work very well in a limited area. The 6th house deals with our health as well. And so let me just throw something in here. Anything in the chart that we are not working out can affect our health. If a problem arises, people will ask me as an astrologer, well, how does my health look? And I always say, your health is determined by your happiness. When you're happy, you're healthy. If there's something bothering you in the back of your mind or in the forefront of your mind, it can affect your health. Your 1st house will show that, and the 6th house will show that. With Saturn there, the health symptoms can be restrictive. But if you respond to your ability, take your health seriously, use that gym membership, you pay for it every single month, use it, you will find that you will solidify and make real and tangible the health that you want. Okay, you may want to have fun. Let's say you've got Jupiter in the 5th house, you want to have fun, but wherever Saturn is, that can hold you down to responding to your ability. So yes, you can have fun, and your work is where you express your responsibility. Okay, let's do Saturn in the 7th house. Well, you take your partnership very seriously. You attract very serious people to you. And when I say serious, I don't mean that they frown all the time. I mean they take themselves seriously. You take partnership seriously, meaning if you're involved in a business relationship, you take it seriously. If you're involved in a legal partnership, a marriage, you take that very seriously. However, with Saturn in the 7th house, you may feel at times that the other people, 7th house, other people in your life are holding you down and back. And so if you will respond to your ability to be the leader in your partnerships, that will help move it up to its highest level. And just be aware that you're going to attract to you people who you will tend to want to take care of. You'll take inappropriate responsibility. All you have to do is respond to your own ability in your relationships. Saturn in the 8th house. This is the house of transformation. And so in this lifetime, it shows that you will work through and transform your fear, Saturn, of the unknown, 8th house. You will be able to deal with your responding to your ability. You can help other people with their money, but you may find that in joint finances, you are held back by the other people. So, and you respond to your ability in mutual finances. It'll be great. Now, the 8th house is the house of the psychic, the astral. And what with planets in your 8th house, you are a natural psychic detective. With Saturn there, you want to know the secrets of life. What are they? Where we come from and where we go when we leave here. And with Saturn in that 8th house, you will be a natural researcher and you will find out the answers that you're looking for in this lifetime. And you'll find that other people are going to trust you with their secrets. And so you want to respond to your ability with other people's secrets. In other words, don't tell what they're sharing with you. It's difficult for some people not to share. This is an area in which you don't want to share. Now, Saturn in the ninth house, very, very interesting. The ninth house deals with truth, with our principles, with our belief systems. And so there's a very traditional Saturn approach to religion, to our beliefs. Your beliefs can involve being afraid of things. And so how do we offset that? You respond to your ability to see the big picture. You stand back and see the big picture. Anything you've got in the ninth house says stand back and see the big picture and make it tangible. Saturn does not restrict or eliminate long trips because that's the ninth house, but it makes it tangible. And through travel, you are able to get really clear on your belief systems. So if you have both Jupiter and Saturn in your ninth house, how interesting is that? You have a very optimistic view of the universe, as well as a very serious traditional view of the universe. And the reason I'm doing Jupiter and Saturn together in the same house is because this happens very often. Okay, now Saturn in our 10th house. This is a very powerful placement because Saturn rules the 11th house in the natural cosmic zodiac. Saturn makes it real, makes it tangible. This is the house of your career, of leadership. It's your public image, and it's the father figure, even if it's a mom who falls into that position. It's the out front parent, and the out front parent's message to you is you should have a career, you should be the leader. The catch-22 on that is that parent, that authority figure, is already the leader. And you'll find that in your climb to the top of whatever career you're in, because with Saturn there, you're going to climb to the top. You have to be climbing upward all the time. You will encounter somebody who already says, I'm sorry, I'm at the top of the mountain and there's only room for one. Your job, you're responding to your ability, your responsibility is to move to the top slowly but surely. And the world will see you as a responsible, serious person. Saturn also rules the natural 11th house. And with Saturn in your 11th house, you take your responsibility as a friend very seriously. You're a natural leader when it comes to groups. And you may feel that the group is holding you back from what you want to do. Actually, it's not. It only seems that way because if you want to spread your wings and soar, the group is going to turn to you to be their leader and say, what about us? So be the leader in every group that you're in. And last but not least, Saturn in our 12th house. Very, very interesting. This is our subconscious. And so there's a subconscious, there's like a hidden message that you hear about the fear of the unknown. I should be doing this. I ought to be doing that. Did I do it yet? How did I? That's Saturn there. But your responsibility is to work behind the scenes, away from prying eyes, so that you can be the authority that you want to be. You just don't have to do it out front. So if you have Jupiter and Saturn in the 12th house, you can see that there'll be a very interesting mix. You want to be alone and you'll want to govern behind the scenes. So that's the way Jupiter and Saturn work out in our charts.
Hey everybody, welcome to this little mini series of videos. This is a video about the North Node in the houses. And North Node is one of my favorite topics to discuss. I do a lot of classes on this. This is something that I find to be very integral to my own journey. And so I know that it's part of what I'm here to talk about. So every chance.
Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome to your channeled message reading. This is the Dream Clairvoyant. Thank you so very much for tuning in. I do hope you're doing well, feeling safe, and feeling blessed because you are. So for the channeled message reading, it does not matter what your zodiac sign is or what your gender is. Absolutely anyone may resonate with this message. I just ask that you use discernment to take what resonates and leave what does not. Also know that the cards represent energies that any gender can embody. I also want to let you guys know that this weekend, or I don't want to say this weekend, but today, Saturday, May 13th, I'm going to be doing phone call readings pretty much all day. So I don't always do private readings. So if you've been looking for an opportunity to get a private reading, this would be a good time. So it's just for today, Saturday, May 13th. If you're interested, you can email me at thedreamclairvoyant@yahoo. Or you can always just look at the channel and you'll see a video that I've uploaded and it'll give you all the information about how you can get a private reading.
Hello everyone, welcome. This is Feline Intuition 1111. We're going to look at how the comics in your life are feeling, thinking, what they're up to. It's always good to know because, well, it's not always good to know. Right now it's good to know because there's a lot going on. So let's see what's going on with the comics right now. For those who tuned in, working together. Okay, warfare, you see? You see why I said it's good to know right now? What's going on with the comics? Honestly,
Hello, Era of Light family. I thought I would share with you a few articles in a series about my particular awakening journey, my amazing light body, and the work I was soul contracted to do this lifetime specifically for the physical planetary ascension. I hope you find it interesting. I have not written about it before as I was a bit awed by the sheer magnitude of this experience I am having and embarrassed to tell anyone I was an incarnated ascended master for fear people would think I was bragging or not authentic. But I have since integrated huge portions of my higher Healerian self as well as source or prime creator who I have come to know as the Mayan deity Quetzalcoatl. The whole universe lies within our DNA. We have DNA from all over the stars and from our indigenous ancestors who were the original starseeds here and created highly enlightened societies which we still see the remnants of today. I am Caucasian of French and Irish descent. When we began to assemble the multidimensional DNA, I had strands from two of the root races, which were Oriental and Ethiopian.
Do you know about alchemical sexual alchemy? There's 33 vertebrae in your spine. There's 33 years in the life of Jesus. So this substance comes from your medulla, makes the trip down your spine to your sacrum, which is Christ coming down into human form. Yeah. And if you don't squander that essence, that sexual essence, it ascends again and goes back up to heaven, which is your thing. It's also the story of Santa Claus. Why he comes down the chimney is because this juice or this whatever substance actually passes what's called the claustrum, which is where they got Santa Claus. So it goes down the chimney and back up the chimney.
In the brain, in the cranium, there is the cerebrum. And in the cerebrum, and in particular the claustrum is sitting right there in the middle of the head, virtually. From the claustrum, there is a secretion, brain fluid. And this fluid is an oil. And in ancient times, this fluid was called, in Greek, it's called Christos. It's called the Christ. It's this beautiful fluid which comes from the cerebrum and pours down the spinal cord. It goes down the spinal cord and it reaches the sacral plexus, right next door to the sacrum, which are the 5 second bottommost fused vertebrae bones at the bottom of the spinal column. The bottommost portion of the spinal column is called the coccyx. Then just above that is the sacrum. 5 fused bones. So the sacral plexus is connected to the sacrum. And the fluid which comes from the cerebrum pours down the spinal cord and comes to the bottommost part of the spinal cord. Now, the claustrum is otherwise known as the holy claustrum, simply because of this beautiful oil, this Christos, that is produced and secreted. You see, the word secret comes from secretion, because this secretion is a secret. And the sacrum is the sacred part of the secret. As the secretion pours down the spinal cord and reaches the sacrum, this is the marvelous way in which our body has been designed. And the spinal cord is basically just an extension of the brain. It also does thinking. And you see, the holy claustrum is otherwise known as the Santa Claustrum. You see, because this fluid that goes down to the sacred plexus is a sacred fluid. And this is where the story of Santa Claus bringing presents down the chimney comes from. It's a story of physiology. And the Bible is a beautiful manual of physiological regeneration. What happens with this fluid is that every month when the moon is in the sign where your sun was when you were born, every month there is a germ or a seed planted in the solar plexus, which is just above the sacral plexus. And that germ is the oil, the Christ, which is born in Bethlehem, because the solar plexus is otherwise known as Bethlehem, where the seed, where the Christ is born. And that seed, that oil needs to return whence it came, in the midbrain. You see, as the oil ascends the spinal cord, the vibration of the oil of the Christ increases. And you see, first of all, the oil is differentiated in the pineal gland and the pituitary gland before it is sent down the spinal cord. And the pineal gland is the electric portion, and the pituitary gland is the magnetic portion. So the oil is differentiated and it is brought down the spinal cord via the Pingala and the Ida nerves. These are what is otherwise known as the Kundalini and the Kundabuffer. So it arrives at the sacral plexus and awaits for the germinating of the seed once a month, 12 times a year. And if we are able to transmute that seed and cause it to rise, as it rises in the spinal cord, it eventually reaches the medulla oblongata and the pons and the midbrain, and it crosses the vagus nerve, otherwise known as the pneumogastric nerve. It's a nerve which descends from the brain area, from the pineal and pituitary glands, respectively, and it feeds the lungs and the stomach. It's a network of nerves, and this network of nerves is called the tree of life. And you see, the ancients knew that this seed that is born in Bethlehem once a month is the Christ, and that if one were to abstain from sex during that period, that oil and seed would be saved, and it would rise, and it would burst through the heart chakra, through the throat chakra, and eventually the oil would arrive with its higher vibration, because you see at the bottom, the oil has a very low vibratory rate. Whereas with proper practices, meditation, breathing, good eating, and good peaceful behavior, one is able to raise that Christ, that oil, so that it crosses the vagus nerve at the top of the spinal column, the 33 vertebrae of the spinal column. You see, because the Christ is crucified at 33 years of age. When the oil arrives at the very, very top, there awaiting is the optic thalamus, an egg-shaped organ in the middle of the head. When it crosses this pneumogastric nerve, this is called the crucifixion. The oil is not killed and destroyed, but it is magnified 1,000-fold. And the oil then touches the optic thalamus, and for 2.5 days remains in a condition that is considered to be dead, and then reaches the pineal gland after 2.5 days and illuminates the optic thalamus and the pineal gland. The optic thalamus was known as the light of the world by the Egyptians and the Greeks, because they knew their physiology and anatomy, and they knew that this precious oil, which descended from the claustrum, from the cerebrum, and was differentiated in the pineal and pituitary glands, and descended the spinal cord, they knew that it would ascend eventually, and that the enlightened portion of mankind were able to cause this Christ oil to ascend, so that it would ascend to the optic thalamus and cause it to be lightened. What in turn happens is that millions of brain cells that were dormant are now awakened. And you see, there are practices and there are things that are very, very detrimental about this oil, or that are detrimental to this oil. For instance, overeating and alcohol and sex practiced at the wrong time. These destroy the seed, and this is what is known as eating from the tree of life. Because you see, the ancients knew that once the oil is depleted because of riotous living, the fleshly organism dies. Death results from using up all of the oil. You see, the oil that descends from the cerebrum is known otherwise as the manna from heaven. You see, because heaven means heaved up. And the head, the cranium, the dome which sits on top of the torso, that was known as the heavens, you see. And the heart area and the heart chakra was known as the Midgard, or the middle garden. And the generative area was known as Sodom and Gomorrah, the area of desire, animal desire, you see. And otherwise known as Egypt and hell and the world, etc. Whereas the Garden of Eden and the land flowing with milk and honey, that's upstairs. In fact, the pineal gland produces the honey, a secretion known as honey,